Hi church family, I hope this finds you well, and it's great to be able to connect with you in this way, and really do pray you have a blessed time together in house churches today. 2 months ago we started a small group for guys in our community, and to provide a space, I suppose, for guys to be able to be more vulnerable and share with one another. So we put the invitation out to guys in our curry and beer night, which we meet monthly at Daly 7 across from the church here in Northland, and we put an invitation out, and we've had a small group of about 9 guys, and been discussing things around mental health and kind of well-being, and it's been really awesome. And we've used this book, a fantastic book called Lost Connections. Highly rate it, go and read it, and that's been provided a really good opportunity to go deeper and be vulnerable with each other. We just finished this week Tuesday night sessions, which we've been meeting fortnightly over the last 2 months, and we have our weekend away to properly bring it to a close, so to speak, next weekend. So I really appreciate your prayers for that. Many of us have found this group really helpful, and in particular I definitely have, and I've ended up sharing quite a lot about my journey and my struggles in life. And through these sessions over the last few in particular, it's really hit me afresh the journey that I've been on over these number of years, and really just how far I've come on my faith journey and how much of an impact that's had. Because much of my journey growing up in that and was shaped by pain and struggle, and I've experienced a lot of healing and hope through my faith journey these almost 20 years with following Jesus. And with that experience recently of the small group, and with our kind of wider experience that we're having right now in our struggles and challenges in these COVID times, I couldn't help but see this gospel through that lens. Because here we have a man who has suffered and struggled in life, yet when he encounters Jesus, his life is filled with healing and hope. And so today I want to share some parallels between his story and my story. There's obviously some big differences between our stories, but the great thing and the beauty of the gospel stories is that we can always locate ourselves and find ourselves within part of the story. Many of us have things that trouble us, limit and restrict our lives, that hold us back from flourishing. It could be emotional, physical, or spiritual. In our gospel story, we read that Bartimaeus is blind. Blindness would have separated him from society, disconnected him from his community and relationships. Not having no support, living life alone, and earning money through begging on the side of the road. Not to mention the daily struggles of living blind and not being able to see. In my story, growing up, there were a few experiences that led me to feeling fearful and isolated. And kind of by the age of my late teens. And one of the most significant was the death of my mum when I was 15. And even though I had people around me and had a pretty good life otherwise, I still felt alone in my pain. I had no tools to help me through it, and I kind of just ended up learning to put on a brave face. One day in Jericho, Bartimaeus saw an opportunity for healing and hope, and so he leaped to his feet and shouted out. Yet the crowds disregarded him and told him to stay quiet. And when I look back at my younger self, I see a young boy who wanted to scream out for help, but all I could manage was a silent cry from within, so no one could really hear me, and no one seemed to be helping me. Yet one day when I was 22, I found myself walking into a church seeking healing and hope. It had been 10 years since I regularly attended church, and I'd been struggling with health issues, and there was a healing meeting being offered by a Pentecostal church in the rural parts of the Waikato where I was living. Who knew that it was this service that would end up be a real turning point in my life? Unlike Bartimaeus, I wasn't instantly healed. However, like the crowd bringing Bartimaeus to Jesus, the church community embraced me and brought me to Jesus. Jesus had heard my cry for help and had sent me people who would bring me to him. I'll be forever grateful for how that church community welcomed me and loved me and provided an opportunity for me to follow Jesus. In Bartimaeus' story, he responded by Jesus by throwing off his cloak. And at first this could be overlooked, but as we look deeper, his cloak was central to his identity as a beggar. A blind beggar would sit at the side of the road with his cloak out to collect money, and this would have been his only source of income. You see, a blind man would have no education or training, employment record, or even marketable skills. He was reliant on begging. He was reliant on his cloak. So for Bartimaeus to throw away his cloak, to follow Jesus, was a risky move. Because if he was healed, self-support would be extremely difficult. Was it not in his interests to remain blind? The grace of God mediated through Jesus is free but not cheap. For me, my Christian walk has been a constant journey of throwing away my cloak. This, for me, is a picture of discipleship. Early on, some of those things were more obvious. There was a new way of living that meant saying no to some things and living differently. Over the years, I've slowly grown and matured as a Christian. I've found that there are more areas of my life that I need to let go of. Learning to love God and love others has been a slow but fruitful journey. This growing and maturing as a Christian, or in other words, this discipleship journey, has always been done in the context of community. I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for key Christian friends and mentors and my faith community. Looking back on my old life, I felt so trapped and paralysed. My life was ruled by fear and uncertainty. Now, things aren't all sorted in my life, got a long way to go, but following Jesus has brought about a huge amount of healing and hope in my life. There is so much more freedom and love in the way I live. Like Bartimaeus' journey, our Christian journey is one of constant letting go, turning away, throwing away those things that get in the way of following Jesus. If that be external things like the way we spend and earn our money, reflecting on that, maybe the way we use our time. Or if it's internal things like our attitudes, our resentments, or not wanting to face the truth. It's learning to let go and then take the risk of putting our faith and trust in Jesus, regardless of the outcome. It's choosing each day to follow Jesus and prioritizing his way of love. And all of this is possible because of the power and the love of God that works in and through us. And this is most profoundly expressed through God's people, the church, his body, us. We have the privilege of providing a community of healing and hope. We have the privilege of welcoming people like Bartimaeus, not hindering their journey to Jesus, but showing them the way to Jesus, a life of faith, hope and love. Amen.